राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
Vibhuti of the presiding deity who is inside, how meticulous he has been in giving us this faultless, 100% efficient tool, whose coordination is something superb. Because why did we do that? Papa again prompts us in one of his articles. He says this: it is to be remembered that unless we link our life with the divine author of our being, our life is in vain. It is to be remembered that unless we link our life with the divine author of our being, so when we keep on hearing the indwelling reality, the all-pervading reality, indwelling reality, all-pervading reality, we are chanting the name of one who is within and who is prompting me to chant. All these things are nice to repeat, but a little reflection reveals that unless and until we have some clarity about the divine author, and he will not reveal by himself. He has given us a sense of individuality, made us to assert that we are the final one, made us to feel that we plan, we think, we do, we take decision, we enjoy, we suffer, we earn, we lose. Having given that through an experiential journey, it is very difficult for the sense of individuality to accept that it owes everything to the divine author. Just start thinking, So he took us first with In Search of Papa. So all these things were revealed to us by our spiritual preceptor. Naturally we get attracted to him. We are inspired by him. Just like we go to the dictionary for anything and everything. Nowadays we go for anything and everything, we go to his works. Clarifies everything. So naturally, we get attached to that form. So first job he took us In Search of Papa. The Papa factor, the real factor inside. The real Papa factor is everywhere. It is not the outer cover. You remember that quotation? Don't replace the iron chain with a golden chain.
Golden chain with iron. No.
Golden chain,
Iron chain with
attachment to
gold
it.
chain.
Iron chain is about our. We think, we attach ourselves to the Guru. No. He clearly wants us. So, impersonal aspect of Ramdas, that's what he said. Okay, we were convinced. But we still revere that form because it is through that form this was revealed. Suddenly he makes us realize that the form is also equally important. So then nearness, presence, and when it is present in me, it should be present everywhere. And then one more graduation, become one with everything. World itself is God. So the title of the 4 words authored by him also gives us some clue. In quest of God, at the feet of God, in the vision of God, world is God. So then, until we feel his nearness, so he prompts us, we concentrate on prayer. Elaborately he took us with different prayers. And today he insists that the form is also relevant. Not that it is irrelevant. There, which was, which we learned intellectually by Mataji. Because Mataji was addressing Papa. Every time when she was addressing Papa, and we all follow it in ashram now, we all say Papa, Papa. We all attribute everything to Papa. When somebody drops the body, we say, the joy in Papa. Papa is joining. Slowly we are trying. We are trying. But Mataji had reached the stage, she was able to detach herself from the attachment to the physical body and try to get herself attached to the core of our being, which she named as Papa. And later on when she came out, she could equally revere that form with the same intensity. And so she has composed a very brief prayer, simple prayer, uncomplicated prayer. O beginningless and endless Param Puja Papa, you are all pervading. You have manifested as the entire universe and you reside in everything. We pray for your blessings, for the eradication of all conflicts and fights in all parts of the world, and for the bestowal of peace and happiness on one and all, within and without. Highest philosophy is contained. When you say beginningless and endless Param Puja Papa, the source of all sources, the beginningless, suddenly we are transported to that impersonal aspect. There is no date of birth for God, no Jayanti for him, and therefore no Samadhi for him. We hardly apply our mind on these stuff. When somebody says about Jayanti, Samadhi, we normally get attached to that form, To know that there is no Jayanti or no Samadhi for that. Because if there is a Jayanti there will be a Samadhi. None of us will be here. So suddenly Mataji transports us to a different realm. The most highest realm. Oh, beginningless and endless Param Puja Bhagwan. How did the sense of individuality get started? How a seed came, how a coconut came. Anything we start going through, the source of we draw blank. We cannot go further. So finally we accept intellectually first, with our faith, that I am the seed of everything, when Lord Krishna says. I am the seed of everything means I am the Udbhava for everything. I am the cause for everything. I am the causeless cause. The beginningless and endless. Therefore it is endless. Because it is beginningless, it is endless. So in one single word, Mataji tries us to make us to reflect on the impersonal aspect, the eternal aspect. That is called eternal. Unchanging, immortal, whatever words we can have. And you are all pervading. Without you, nothing is there. You have manifested as the entire universe. And you reside in everything. You all remember that mud and pot. Without mud there cannot be pots. Pots are nothing but mud in different forms. Removal of mud from the pot means nothingness. Therefore mud is inherent and concurrent in pot. Without effects, without cause there cannot be effect. Effects are nothing but cause in different forms. Removal of cause from the effect means nothingness. Therefore cause is inherent, concurrent, in effect. Mataji is taking us to that level. Every time when we pray, though we would not have connected, now we will start connecting up. It is not merely, and through this form you have revealed this to me. So equally venerable, equally adorable. Otherwise, how will I come to know? You chose this form to reveal to me. So this form is equally adorable, respect-worthy. So that name we are also giving to the other name. There is no difference between this name and that name. Because that beginningless, endless spirit is there, Even in that form which others call as Swami Ramdas. Not suppose we don't bring in this dimension only to and get ours attached to that form, then as Papa said, we will be attaching to the golden chain. It is also a chain, it is also a baddha, a binding. But when we try to go deeper and deeper and deeper into it, when we try to go to the origin of me and everything, Yesterday we read in that glimpses, go to the source from where you and the world has come. To know who you are in reality is the real quest. So that means Mataji wanted all of us to reflect on these Because people who have gone through Guru Kripa, you will find every para, literally every para, starts with the impersonal aspect of Papa. Many might know, many might not know. Even after Papa dropping the body, it is a body which we call as Papa, Mataji used to place all the, what do you call it, the thoughts she gets, the promptings she gets, the motivation she gets while managing this ashram. She will write letters to Papa. If you go through the earlier revision, till she was all right, no, physically. When Swamiji was there, Swamiji used to translate, otherwise somebody else used to translate in English. Amma Ramaswamy was there, Balaji, so many people. There are about 7 or 8 such systems are there. So where are we going to end? There will be thousands and thousands. So when the other day when we prayed, trillions of cells are being born and they die every moment. Suddenly now it becomes clear. So the presiding deity's presence. In Atmabodh there is a shloka there, no? Rajapat Sada. When the king is there, everything goes on beautifully. He doesn't have to say. His presence is enough. Similarly, the chosen deity's presence, he has set up everything, the kingdom inside, with a different department. We originally thought, some 5 organs of action, 5 organs of perception, mind, body, intellect, bas, body. When this body itself, and suppose we start analyzing about the mind, the intellect, I am sure every one of us will get stuck there. We will be going deeper and deeper and deeper. No, that is not our department. Our department is to know the presiding deity. It might help. This much is enough. So many things are there. In the world, so many things are unknown to us. We accept it, Not that we have to learn everything to know the originator. Whatever is right in front of us, that is not. So manifested everywhere. She says, you have manifested as the entire universe. That simple statement is enough. If we start analyzing, our whole life will be sufficient. It will not be sufficient to reach out to the entire manifestation. So they have given a small, what do you call it in English? A small, in retrospect, in a microform.
Thumbnail.
In a microform, it has been given. We know there is a macroform. That is it. And then what happens? When we come to that level, you are there, but I am also there. This is the most practical, because we always feel Mataji is not merely a spiritual preceptor. Mataji was also an earthly mother to all. Her vibhuti is that even after scaling the heights, she did not exhibit herself or express herself or present herself as a guru. She was an ordinary earthly mother to everybody. In her mind, the care and concern of all, quality care and concern of all creatures were there. blessings. We pray for your blessings, for the eradication of all conflicts and fights. Because you make me restless when you make me see you are the creator of conflicts and fights. Then you make me feel restless. Why? Why did you do that? Now I understand. Whether I feel oneness with everybody, whether I am trying to enlarge my love circle, when I bring in so many the care and concern of as many of his creation into the orbit of my care and concern. So unless and until this is given, how will I know? So we become responsive, we become sensitive to the demands and suffering of the creations in and around us. Mataji reminds us, you can't do anything to seek his. So we pray for your blessings, for the eradication of all conflicts and fights. Never arrogate that you can do anything in all parts of the world, and for the bestowal of peace and happiness. Again, one more beautiful word she adds, within and without. Not at the superficial level, that won't be standing there. Within and without. Once again we will read, O beginningless and endless Param Pujya Papa, you are all pervading. You have manifested as the entire universe, and you reside in everything. We pray for your blessings, for the eradication of all conflicts and fights in all parts of the world, and for the bestowal of peace and happiness on one and all, within and without. Just to make us know that when Mataji makes a word about Papa, it is not merely to be confined to the form. That is why we remember the letters. Even after dropping the body, Papa dropping the body, she was still continuing to write letters to Papa. To whom? Even that is also addressed as the universal Papa. Like a child, she will report everything. It may not be a big Vedantic literature, but it is the musings of a simple, a realized soul placing before another realizing soul. At the same time, we will all feel she has written like us. Some devotees would have come, they would have created something, and they would have been asked to leave the ashram. But she will always say, Papa, you came in that form. Please, Papa, enough. Hereafter you don't come through those forms. Like that, Just like a childlike submission, childlike petition. There are about, if you remember right, there were about 35 to 40 letters. When we, with this background, when we go through, we find very, very interesting, and it will be a good sadhana for us. So that is the relationship Mataji maintained with the impersonal aspect and the personal aspect. She was maintaining more with the impersonal aspect. But people like us cannot understand the impersonal aspect. So she has to, for our sake, come down to the personal aspect also. Thy grace, O beloved one, is boundless. I bask in it day and night. My one thought is of thee. My life is hallowed by thy remembrance. Wherever I turn, thy smiling and beautiful face confronts me, and I go into raptures. How can I glorify thee? My heart overflows, my eyes become moist. A strange glow appears in them. Joy courses through my veins. I am lost in a consciousness in which I and thou are one. What sweet ineffable! O my love, my refuge, I am thine, thou art mine. What more can there be between thee and mine? My mind is thyself, my heart is thyself, my will is thyself, nay, my body is thyself. I am totally thyself. Worlds are thyself. Is there anything besides thyself? I love myself. I serve myself. I dwell everywhere. I have become all. I see myself. I am my own self. O beloved, how grand art thou! My life started from thee, lived and played in thee, moved and danced in thee, and at last merged in thee. Now I know my life has been, will ever be thy life. Thou alone existest. All hail to thee. My most brilliant star, my rarest gem, my dearest love, my supreme goal, my highest and greatest object of adoration, my heart's worshipful master. After all is said and done, last is to get dumb and be only thrilled by thy all-absorbing nectarian remembrance. We are watching now. We started from mind in search of Papa, went through prayers, and finally lands himself here. Once again we will read. This is the thing on which as sadhakas, we have to do reflection for days together, weeks together, months together, probably years together. Thy grace, O beloved one, is boundless. I bask in it day and night. My one thought is of thee. My life is hallowed by thy remembrance. The presiding deity, Wherever I turn, thy smiling and beautiful face confronts me, and I go into raptures. How can I glorify thee? My heart overflows, my eyes become moist. A strange glow appears in them. Joy courses through my veins. I am lost in a consciousness in which I and thou are one. What sweetness ineffable! My love and my refuge, I am thine, thou art mine. What more can there be between thee and me? My mind is thyself, my heart is thyself, my will is thyself, my body is thyself. I am totally thyself. Worlds are thyself. Is there anything besides thyself? I love myself. I serve myself. I dwell everywhere. I have become all. I see myself. I am my own self. Capitalist. O beloved, how grand art thou! My life started from thee, lived and played in thee, moved and danced in thee, and at last merged in thee. Now I know my life has been and will ever be thy life. Thou alone existest. All hail to thee. When an individual gains the supreme joy of full devotion to the Lord, he comes to live in a sense of utter fulfillment, and he has therefore no more any desire for the things of the world. He has thereby come to live and experience a new order of existence. You saw that, no? And to him, the objects, emotions, thoughts, which constitute the only fields of relaxation and entertainment for us, are of no avail. A great master of devotion has exclaimed, "How can there be any attraction for the foul-smelling ditch water of sensuality to one who is swimming in the ocean of Haribhakti?" How can there be any attraction for the foul-smelling ditch water of sensuality to one who is swimming in the ocean of Haribhakti? Thus a true devotee has nothing to gain, not even the joys of the heavens, or even the thrills of liberation. He has no fear of losing anything he has already got. In the arrival and departure of sense enjoyments, he observes but the infinite play of the benevolent Lord. To a devotee who is enjoying in himself this steady love supreme, Parama Prem, even the delay for his final experience is not a sorrow. Remember, the Swamiji said, even the agony, that itself is also a blissful one. The agony of separation. Such a lover has only one desire. Be he in heaven or hell, his only demand is that his love for his Lord must ever increase. He cares for nothing else. Na kinchitu vanchati. Grief is the feeling that comes in the human mind when the already acquired objects of one's attachment perish or decay in his possession. Since to a true devotee there is no attachment for anything in the world around, and his entire attachment is only for the imperishable truth, in the midst of the ever-dying, ever-perishing world of beings and objects, the lover's heart knows no grief. Na shochati, na dveshti. When situations or things approach us which are contrary to our nature, we feel an impatience with them, and this irksome attitude towards others around us is called hatredness. A true devotee, in his supreme love, recognizes everything as the prey of the Lord of his heart, and therefore he knows no hardness. Everything is to him sacred and divine. In his vision, there is nothing ugly or filthy, therefore he hates none. On the contrary, when things that are conducive to our nature gather around us, we come to feel an expansion of joy within our own bosom, and thus we delight in such environments. The heart of a lover is ever dwelling on the thoughts of the beloved. And so a true devotee discovers no situation in life wherein he can particularly discover a great delight because of a certain set of things or circumstances around him. Papa's bhakti, parabhakti, we should know it is not the usual bhakti normally we all conceive of. As somebody crudely put it as emotional evolution. No. What is real bhakti? To know Papa's real parabhakti, it was not a dry philosophy, nor it was not an emotional level expression. We have to understand. Probably that is why he is slowly driving us to Narada Bhakti Sutra. Here it is, here even the qualification they have said, in the initial first sutra, you will be stunned. He quotes Ramanujacharya Vishishtadvaita. He says for a bhakta, there are about 7 qualifications. One is discrimination in food. Second is freedom from desire. Third is practice. Fourth is habit of doing good to others, Yoga Kalyan. Fifth, purity in thought, word and deed, non-violence, charity, such other virtues. Number 6, always cheerful. Number 7, absence of excessive hilariousness, overjoyed, always balanced. This is the real qualification of the Bhakta. We all know, we all thought, Bhakta means getting ourselves attached to a deity. No. Initially, yes, but later on we have to graduate, improve. To that level, Papa wants all of us to dwell on it. Then it won't be a dry philosophy, nor it will be an emotional expression, nor sentimental expression. It is much, 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 much beyond that. With the result, the heart will become soft. At the same time, it will become more sharp. In our self-interest seeking, we will skip this last portion. To a true devotee, all happenings are unimportant and extremely insignificant. He cares not for them. Things may come and things may go. Joys may visit him or sorrows may peep in his heart, but he ever lives in the maddening joy of Hari devotion. His mind never goes anywhere. It has no place to go. Wherever it goes, he has no other experience other than the beloved of his own heart. The gopis once said to Uddhava, our minds never remain even for a moment even with us. How can they go then to our neighbors or others? Once a lover, the Lord fascinates him so much that in the language of the Bhaktas, the Lord is the thief of the heart, Chitta Chor. He's taken the heart. In the great glory of the Lord, the love heart of the devotee melts to become one with him. We read now. Thereafter there can never be any anxiety over anything. Or ever there can be at least a distant chance or even a whiff of remembrance of the sense objects and their enjoyments. The immortal devotees, the gopis of Vraja, openly confess, when we can't shift our mind even for a moment from our beloved Krishna, how can we strive for getting any worldly objects? Or weep over things that we have failed to secure? Our minds know nothing other than Krishna. The mind of the devotee comes to be so jealously occupied by the Lord that there is no accommodation in it thereafter for anything else. One by one every day, combining with the Narada Bhakti Sutra, that how this was he was able to reach. And by reaching it, none of us become disconnected with the world. The same objects, same emotions, same thoughts, same situations, everything will remain, but our attitude toward them will change. That's what Prabhupada says. This has to be noted down. We are not in a different realm. We are very much in the realm in which He has placed us. But the only thing is the perspective changes, the outlook changes, attitude changes. There are about 20 such articles. Even after scaling the heights, where he was not mentioning the word I at all, then for us, he brought out these musings. Somebody was kind enough to put it in I think this must have appeared in somewhere, and they have been compiled and put it in Divine Life. We would not have given much attraction for this, because it is on a different level, different plane. Other things are, he talks about consciousness, cosmic thought, so many other things. But in the same thing, in the same collections, he has also placed these to ensure, gently warn us. Don't become a dry bhakta. Become a real bhakta, where the relationship between the bhakta and Bhagavan is maintained, though the bhakta realizes that Bhagavan and bhakta are one. The joy is something immeasurable. You remember he used to quote Mirabai. When Mirabai's husband complained that he is not loved by her, she confesses like a child. It has already been given to Krishna, then how can I? Whether I want it or not, I cannot. It has already been given to Krishna. It is all, Narada Sutra is clearly mentioned that in this particular thing, having attained this devotion, he cares for nothing, never grieves, never hates, never delights in anything, and he finds no urge or enthusiasm for sense enjoyment. So the highest state of Sthita Prajna, here also it is mentioned that when Vedavyasa wrote Vedas, everything, then according to what we have understood, Narada came and told him, bring this bhakti somewhere. Otherwise people will not be able to understand. That is why he was prompted to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Because there should be a harmonious blend of this. A man is not simply, with a pumping heart. He has got a feeling heart, The feeling is there in every human being God has given. That feeling has to be understood. That feeling has to be recognized. Because feeling is the expression of God. So then afterwards he wrote his Srimad Bhagavatam. And probably not satisfied with that, Devrishi Narada has brought out these sutras, where the relationship is maintained, where the highest Vedantic principles are not diluted, but it has got a loving paste, a adherent, the gum is there, it is not dry. There is something sticking, something that links us, an ordinary human being, with feelings. He may be having feelings for sense objects, but he has got feelings. That feeling can be upgraded, graduated, but that feeling is there. He is not a machine, robot. When the switch is on, he reacts. No, that feeling. So that is called bhakti.